Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to Manful Yoga. This workout is the morning routine for energy and confidence. So the reason why I'm making this video is to show you the exact morning routine that I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. It's really short. It just has a few poses, but I feel great as a result of it. I feel like my chest is nice and open. I don't have any stiffness in my lower back, and I have a lot of energy as a result of it. So what we're going to focus on today is keeping the ribs lifted away from the hips. So we're going to create a lot of space in your ribs and keep your core really nice and long. So we're going to work on your posture. We're also going to work on opening up your hips, kind of on countering what you'll do when you tend to sit throughout the day. And we're also going to work on opening up your spine and getting in some twist. So let's get straight to it. You don't need any equipment for this. If you have a block, you can use a block, but you don't need it. First thing we're going to do is a high lunge. So step your left leg back, right knee over your ankle in the front foot. Soften the left knee at first. Allow your hip to open up and push down hard through your right hip. So we want to get that right glute really turned on here. So squeezing your right buttock and allowing your hips to sink forward with the exhale. So our goal here is just to hold this for a while, to get the hips to turn on, to get the front of the hip to open up, so getting your hip flexor to open up, and then also starting to open up your ribs, right? So pulling the chest up, pulling the ribs away from the hips, getting that length through your core, squeezing your legs toward one another, and then now that your hips have opened up, try to tighten the back thigh. And so try to straighten the back leg. And again, we're squeezing the legs toward one another. We're pushing down hard through the heel of the front foot, and bring your arms up. And we're going to work on sinking deeper into this. So every exhale, sinking your hips forward and down just a little bit more. Make sure your knee stays over the ankle on your front foot. If you notice that your knee starts to pass the ankle, crawl your foot forward a little bit more. We do want to work deeper into this position as you hold it. 2 more breaths. And again, keeping that length, so keeping the ribs up, keeping the abs tight. 1 more breath. And stand back up. Switch sides. So now left leg is forward, right leg is back. Start with the back knee slightly bent, knee over the ankle and the front foot. Work on pushing your left hip toward the ground. So again, I'm just making that little adjustment so my left hip presses toward the ground, my right hip lifts up slightly, and now my hips are totally level. I want to make sure that my hips are level, that I'm not letting my right hip sink, not letting my left hip hike up, but again, really pushing that left hip toward the ground to level out the hips. Feeling the stretch to the front of my right hip, so my hip flexor is opening up. I've got the knee above the ankle in my front foot, and I'm squeezing my legs toward one another. If you're doing this and you can't squeeze the legs toward one another, bring your feet closer together, right? So shorten up your stance a little bit so you can have that muscle awareness. You can feel the inner thigh muscles engaging. And then from there, maybe you can deepen your stance. But make sure you have that muscle engagement first. What we're doing here is working on getting your body warm, on getting your body active. So if you can't control the muscles in that position, we want to bring the muscles, or we want to bring the legs closer together. We're not necessarily trying to improve our overall our flexibility here. We're not trying to set any new, personal best. We just want to get the body warm, get the body active. Go ahead and bring your arms up and start to sink deeper into this. So feeling a really nice stretch through the front of the right hip, squeezing that right hip in toward the middle to feel a stretch through the front and the outer hip, squeezing the legs toward one another and getting your chest nice and open. 2 more breaths. No pinching in the back, keeping your core tight. 1 more breath. All right, stand back up, and we're going to work on the ribs now and your shoulders. So toes touch, stand up nice and tall as you can. Really lift the ribs up and away from the hips. Bring your arms overhead, interlace your fingers, point your index fingers, breathe in, and then lean to the right, up and over. Now I want you to lean back and lift your sternum up, almost like you're doing a little bit of a back bend. So really opening up through your ribs and through the shoulders. And I want you to really lean toward the side. So we're going to do 3 more breaths here, deep, long breaths. And really leaning, keeping your body tight. All right, so keeping the left side of the body tight, keeping the right side of the body tight, keeping your spine neutral, so tailbone reaches down, hips squeeze toward one another. 2 more breaths. Getting a deep stretch through the side of your body. 1 more breath. And coming back with control, switching sides, breathing in, lifting up. Other side. Keeping the right side of your body tight, so keeping the obliques tight, keeping the ribs tight. So engaging these muscles, but also allowing them to stretch at the same time. Press your fingers up higher, reach your arms back a little bit. Again, open up through the ribs. 3 more breaths. Using your exhale to get a deeper stretch. Keeping your legs straight, so making sure that you're not softening the left leg, but keeping that knee straight. 2 breaths more. Open up through the ribs a little bit more. 1 more breath, go a little deeper. And come back. Good, all right, standing back bend. So now, reach your arms straight up, reach back, and don't let your ribs sink at all. So keep your ribs lifting up and away from the hips. Keep that length. This is the important part. And then squeeze back. Don't allow your body to collapse at all. Keep that space between your hips and your ribs. Tailbone reaching down, thighs squeezing toward one another, abs tight. We're going to do 3 deep breaths here as well. Work on squeezing your arms more and more back. If you want to interlace the fingers, go for it. And really lift your sternum up. Get tall. Push your head away from your hips. Push your head away from your body. Keep that height. Lift. 1 more breath. And release. All right, we're going to go into a wide-legged position. So work on opening up your inner thighs. Press into the outer edges of your feet. Get really wide as you can. Thighs squeeze toward one another. Reach the tailbone down. Tighten your abs. Now pull your chest forward. Get length through your back. So now we're actually arching the spine, reaching the tailbone toward the back wall. Pulling the chest forward. And notice I'm not forward folding all the way. I'm pulling forward with my chest, keeping length through the front side of my body. Getting a really deep stretch through my inner thighs and the backs of my legs. Walking the arms out in front maybe. And keeping really active here. So my quadriceps are totally engaged. Legs are straight if possible. You can bend your knees if you need to get your hands to the ground. And I'm really working on that inner thigh mobility. If you want, maybe stretching the legs a little more, getting your stance a little bit wider. Focusing on that stretch on the inner thighs. 2 more breaths. And again, keeping that length through your body, through the front of your chest. All right, and then walking your hands back in. Maybe bringing your feet a little bit closer together to safely lift back up. And then into Warrior 2. Turn your right foot out, bend into your right knee. Push your left hip into your right hip. Your toes can face straight forward or slightly in, the back toes. Now really push your back hip into your front hip. So my right leg is forward. I'm going to really press my left hip into my right hip. I'm going to feel my left hip tighten, reaching my tailbone down to get a better stretch through my groin. So my hips come slightly forward, and then I'm reducing the arch of my lower back by lengthening my tailbone down and tightening my abs. Right glute is really firmly engaged here. That's going to squeeze the right knee out to the side. And then I want to work on sinking deeper into the Warrior 2. Again, that back hip really pushing into the front hip, legs squeeze toward one another, and then pulling my ribs up and away from my hips. 2 more breaths here. Arms coming out and lifting a little bit above the shoulders. One more breath. And then straightening the leg, turning that in, turning the left foot out, keeping the hip squared out to the side, tightening my left glute now, sinking into the left knee. So I'm using my left glute to open up the hip. If I'm not engaging my left hip, my knee's going to come in a little bit. So the more I can tighten that left hip and externally rotate the hip with the glute, now I can get my knee to track over my middle toes instead of tracking toward the inside. I'm going to push my right hip into my left hip, get my hips level. So I'm making sure that my right hip isn't above my left hip, but again, getting the hips level. Reaching my tailbone down to lengthen my lower back, lifting my ribs up, and tightening my abs so that I can get a deeper stretch through my groin. I'm really strengthening the hips here. Your glutes are tight, especially that left glute. Right thigh is tight. Ribs lifting up. 3 more breaths here. Using the exhale to sink deeper. And arms are up, pressing in opposite directions. Chest is nice and open, and looking straight over your left middle finger. 2 more breaths. Keep the ribs lifted. Keep your core long. And then straighten that leg, turn it in. From here, we're going to go into a deep squat. So your feet about shoulder width, toes face slightly out. Bring your hands, one to your sternum, one to your pubic bone. I want you to keep this length through your body. So keep your core nice and long. Keep all this space in your lungs. Keep it open. And then from here, sit straight down, keeping your chest up, looking straight forward. Squeeze your legs toward one another. Try to not let the knees come forward too much. Again, keeping that length between the sternum and the pubic bone. And then bring your arms out, lift your chest up. And just to check a little bit more here, bring your hands to your thighs. Push your hands into your thighs. Lift your chest away from your hips. Maintain that distance, that space in your torso, and then tighten your glutes. Just 3 breaths here. Again, really focusing on opening up the chest. This is what's going to help create that energy and that confidence boost that we talked about. So really lifting up the chest, opening up the ribs. 1 more breath. And then standing up all the way, driving the hips forward. Last stretch we're going to do is a runner's lunge twist. So if you have that block, feel free to grab the block. You're going to go right foot forward, left foot back, starting in a runner's lunge, pressing your right hip toward the ground, making sure you feel that right glute engage, pulling your chest forward, left hand is on the block just inside your right foot. Your spine should be in a straight line, and again, you want to have that space between the ribs and the hips, so pulling and lengthening the torso. Now from here, reach your right arm up in the air, roll back the shoulder, bring your right hand to your lower back. Now roll back your right shoulder even more, so you're really just opening up the spine and not compensating with the arm. Roll back, roll back, roll back. Keep that right hip pushing down. Don't let your hips push out to the side. And then reach your right arm straight up. 3 breaths here. Now if you don't have the block, or if you want to challenge yourself, move the block away and just reach your fingertips toward the ground. Don't actually touch the ground. Use your core strength to hold and keep rolling back your right shoulder. Keep looking up at the ceiling with your head, strengthening your spine. 1 more breath. And then release and go ahead and switch sides. So if you want the block, use the block. Left foot up, right leg back. Squeeze your legs toward one another. Push your left heel toward the ground. Square your hips. Right hand to the block. Now lengthen forward. Make your body long. Make your torso long. Ribs pulling away from the hips. Squeeze your legs toward one another. Breathe in. And then roll back the shoulder on the exhale. Reach your left arm up. And now bring your left hand to your lower back. Roll back the left shoulder. Pull your body forward more. Get that space in your ribs. Get that space in your spine. Lengthening and twisting. And now reach your left arm up. Keep your hips pulled in toward the middle. Don't let your hips push way out to the side. So you want to keep the hips squared, hips level. And 3 breaths here. Squeeze your legs toward one another. Go ahead and move the block if you want to challenge yourself. pulling your chest forward away from your hips, getting nice and long through your body. Whole body engaged, the abs, the spine, your hips. One more breath, looking up, rolling back, and then releasing, and go ahead and stand back up. All right, and that's it. So again, I said just a few exercises, just a few postures for this workout, but we got everything there. We got the spine opening up, the twisting, we got the back bending, right? We got from side to side to open up the ribs. We got the squat to engage the core, to open up the hips, but also maintain that height and continue to open up the ribs and tighten the core. So that is what I've been doing for the last few weeks. It's a really great morning routine to help you boost your energy and also boost your confidence, right? Confidence is boosted when we work on our posture, when we get open through the body. So that's why I've used those poses in particular, because they're great for opening up the chest and also getting the core active, which helps to lift your ribs away from your hips and keep your body, keep that core engaged and keep your body upright. So if you're watching this in the members area, thank you for being part of the Manful Yoga community. If you're watching this from somewhere else, maybe on YouTube or Facebook, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more like this, workouts, programs, tutorials, and more, head on over to manfulyoga.com. Get full access to all of my content for just $1 for a 7-day trial. Again, that's manfulyoga.com. My name is Dean. This is Manful Yoga. Thanks for joining me on this workout, and I will see you on the next video.